I'm Kevin Schroeder. On this channel I do motorcycle videos, camping videos, and fishing videos. But today I'm going to talk to you about signals, motorcycle signals. If you've ever rode in a group, or even with a couple of buddies, it's good to know a few of the signals that are pretty common. Maybe I'll give you a couple here that you don't know. These are the signals that we use most often. So before you go on any ride and you're going to be with a group, be clear about the signals. Talk about it before the ride. This is not something you want to try doing mid-ride. Not everyone is aware of what it is you're doing. It's always good to let the other riders know of hazards ahead. It's always good to let them know that you're leaving the group, or if you need to stop for some reason. Any of those are the signals that we use most often. So we'll start off with the most basic of basic, which would be making a right turn. Left turn. Another signal that you'll see quite often with motorcycles is just a hey, how are you? You know, that's another motorcycle. Typically the Harley guys, hey, how are you? Motorcycle, this is not a good wave. Unless you want to look like that guy. Yeah, it's always good to wave at your fellow riders. If they don't wave back, hey, it's okay, I wave to everyone. The only caution I would say about the wave is sometimes be careful. If you're going to be making a left-hand turn, you know, you've got your hand out, you know, maybe you could acknowledge, but you know what, if you're turning right and you're waving left, that might indicate to the car behind you that you're doing something different. So you've got to be wary about what you're doing when you're signaling. Stop. If you're right, when we do it, we'll put a stop, put our hand down. The other one that you might see sometimes if you're traveling in a group is this, and that is slow down, slow down. I'm slowing down. It lets the riders know behind that you're slowing down. You might even, if you're coming up to a stop, you might be doing this and then go to that. Oftentimes when we're turning, it'll be, you know, we're turning left and then you'll see this. So we're turning and there's stuff on the road. So, you know, be aware of what's going on around you and be aware of the road conditions. If you're riding in a group, oftentimes we'll get to a corner or we'll get somewhere where there's gravel or such on the road. So you warn the riders behind you that there's gravel or uneven pavement, and that it could be something that you could fall on. You might see somebody doing this. That would mean that we're going to turn around. If you're traveling in a group, your head on the top of your helmet. If you ever see another motorcyclist approaching you doing this, what that means is there's a policeman ahead. If there's something on the road, if there's a hazard, you're riding along and you notice that there may be a hazard, you put your foot out, like that, if it's on that side, or like this, on that side, pointing to what it is. You can also use your hands and point to it. Oftentimes you use your foot on the right-hand side because you've got your hand on the throttle or the brake. So you could use your finger, but most likely you'd see a foot. So I've got the view here from the back so that you can see what the riders behind you are going to see when you're traveling in a group. So if something is ahead, if there's a car at the side, if there's a police officer coming the other way or an ambulance or something like that, when you're traveling in a group, it's important that you go single file, because typically we will be traveling in a staggered formation. So the signal for single file is one finger pointing straight up to the sky. And then once you've gotten past and you want to go back into a staggered formation, we usually do something along that line to indicate that we are now going staggered again. So single file, staggered. This one, if you've ever seen anyone do this one, this is a railway crossing. And I've rode with some of the guys from the Hog chapter, and that's a common one that they'll use. So typically, if I'm on my bike and I want to change lanes on a highway, on an interstate, on any major multi-lane highway, I will indicate with my indicator, and I will also make the hand signal. Again, indicate, and then I'll make my hand signal. Is if you're traveling in a group and somebody has got their blinker on, the leader may notice in his rear view or her rear view he has their indicator on. They will do that by doing this to have you go. Before you send that signal back down the group, it's always a good idea to check if it's not you that has the flashing light. You know, somebody sometimes tapping out to mean that I'm leaving the ride, or I've got to turn off. So if you're traveling in a group and you want to speed up, the signal to speed up is like this, with your palm up. So if you're going on a group ride and you show up, one of the things you should always do is make sure that you're ready for the ride. Make sure that your gas tank is filled up. There's nothing worse than you've got a group of people all showed up. We're all ready to ride. We've had our safety talk, and we talked that we all know the hand signals that we're going to use for the ride, and then somebody doesn't have their gas tank filled up and we have to stop and get gas. So before you go to the ride, make sure you show up ready to ride. That your air, you've checked your air and your tires, you've got your gas filled before you arrive at the ride meeting spot. The only other thing I want to mention about group riding is, you know, if you're traveling in a group and you get to a stop, remember that the rules of the road always apply. Always apply. Ride your own ride. If the group gets ahead of you, let them get ahead of you. The last thing you want to do is to get into trouble trying to cross a road when it's not safe to do so, not paying attention to the traffic around you. Ride your own ride. I know you've heard that a lot of times, but I have been on rides with other people sometimes when that isn't always the case. They're more concerned about keeping up with the group than they are with making sure that it's safe to do so. So you always are responsible for yourself. So make sure that you're always watching where you're going, watch the traffic around, be aware of your surroundings. Ensure that if you would get lost, or if you miss a turn or something like that, usually whoever is running the ride will have a plan for if somebody is falling behind. Usually you have your most experienced rider at the front and at the back as a sweep rider. But if something would happen and you get separated from the group, you should know where you're going to meet next. So at every stop, we usually always have a meeting spot for the next time, so that you don't have to worry about if you didn't get out through an intersection or so on, you'll know where you're going. A lot of times if there's a turn or anything like that, somebody will wait behind to let you get caught up, and then you can continue on with the group. So that's it. If you like this video, slam that like button and please subscribe. Thank you very much. Safe riding.